Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lotodrendel here. Uh, right now it's 12:41 in the morning. I should be in bed, but after something I watched and some articles that I've read, there's somebody who I'm kind of calling out here. Um, now, those of you who are new to my channel, or even those of you who've watched this channel on a consistent basis, you might be wondering, Lodo, what's going on? Okay, so according to several news articles, right, ranging on VentureBeat, Gaming Bolt, Polygon, Kotaku, it's pretty crazy because according to all of these articles, or most of these articles, the Nintendo Switch is the fastest selling video game console ever in the United States. And I actually got this up here. Nintendo revealed today was being, well, technically yesterday, but okay, that its Switch hybrid home portable console is now the fastest selling system in the United States ever after 10 months on the market. The Japanese company has sold more than 4.8 million systems in the States since launching in March. That tops the record holder, the Nintendo Wii, which was just over 4 million after 10 months. Worldwide, the Switch has sold over 10 million consoles, which is a big rebound with considering that its last system, the Wii U, only sold 13.56 million consoles during its entire lifespan. Its entire life on the market. Now, the Switch was home to our top two, so VentureBeat's top two games of the year in 2017. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which took the top honors, and Super Mario Odyssey, which was runner-up. System has also attracted indie hits like Stardew Valley and Shovel Knight, and third-party games like Elder Scrolls Skyrim and Doom have also come to the Switch. Now you guys are thinking, well, is that bad news? No, it's not bad news. As somebody who owns, and I'll go ahead and show you guys, I own a Switch. I also own, and I could tell you guys, I own the PlayStation 4. I used to play Xbox One. So as somebody who owns a Switch, who had put some investment into it, I even got a carrying case for the Switch. I might consider getting an actual deluxe kit though. That allows me to carry, like if I decide to take a whole thing on the go, like if I go to a friend's place and I'll play on their TV, might do that. So let's get back to what's going on. One specific YouTuber who I believe he just put out this video but maybe an hour ago. Maybe even more than that. It's hard to tell. It came out yesterday, Thursday, January 4th, 2018. And the title reads, "I can't believe this. Nintendo Switch is now the best-selling system ever." I gotta call you out on the name of your title, and for those of you guys who don't know what I'm talking about StoneFoxMedia. He has almost 158,000 subscribers. Now, the reason I call out, alright, so I can't believe this. Nintendo Switch is now the best-selling system ever. Xbox is failing. I gotta call you out on how you worded the Switch. The Nintendo Switch is now the best-selling system ever? No, it's the fastest. it's the fastest selling system. That doesn't mean it's the best system ever. But okay, however you want to put it. So, but I actually I actually watched this whole video. You guys can go over it if you want to before you continue my video. So, but quite honestly, there's a lot of things that was said in this video where it sounds like this guy is really salty, really, and not I can't say anti-Nintendo, but I feel extremely shallow, entitled, and narrow-minded. I feel. Now I'm not saying that's how he is, but the way he talked and ranted gave off the vibes. So, as a result, here I am making a video and I'm calling out StoneFoxMedia on his bullshit. And also, I'm pretty sure he knew that this video was gonna get a lot of hate since he is disabled. He's locked down the like-dislike button where you can't see how many people liked his video and how many people disliked his video. But I'm willing to bet that there might be more dislikes compared to how he was talking because of that. But let's get to it. He made some points that I actually took note of. And I pretty much, it's just so you guys can see. Yeah, I wrote down quite a bit because, I did my research before, while I was thinking of how I wanted to address this. But a lot of his points are the points that I've written down. Some of them can tie into each other, some won't. But, yeah, let's start, shall we? I'm going to play a little bit of it. I'll play some parts here so you guys can. And as each part is mentioned, I'll read off my counter, to refute.
Looks like the Nintendo Switch is now the fastest selling system of all time in the US.
Okay, let's push a little further up, because here we are. Let's go to about the 50-second mark.
Words. How is this possible? Nintendo has basically announced today that the hybrid console basically is the fastest selling of all time. They basically have sold more than 4.8 million units in the United States last year in 10 months. So it looks like they pretty much beat everyone out of the water, and people still weren't able to get their hands on one for Christmas. There were still select places that weren't able to get one. I know the stores where I am, they had plenty of them, but some people didn't have access to any. Maybe their stores didn't have people in them. I don't know. But
now, in regards to the availability of the Switch, yes, when it came out, it did. There were availability issues where it would just sell out at any gaming stores, GameStop especially, Best Buy. I don't know, during and I don't know how it was at the very beginning because I never really shopped at Best Buy. But during the Black Friday holiday, I had noticed they had literally if the box is sitting, it's stacked about 8 high and about 7 to 8 out. Best Buy had a lot of consoles. During the Black Friday holidays, they had ungodly amount of Switches. I looked at it and I was like, how the hell did I not know this? I wouldn't know because I never shopped there. Let's keep going.
it appears that Nintendo Switch is the fastest selling games console of all time. And it gets worse because it looks like Nintendo.
How does it get worse? How does it get worse? It is the fastest selling console now. beats the PS2, according to the article. It beats the Wii, PS4. I mean, how does it get worse? He goes into it, in his view.
Becoming the fastest selling console of all time isn't where it ends. You see, Nintendo expects that they're going to sell about 20 million units in the United States in 2018.
Nintendo Switch firm expects to sell 20 million units in 2018. Now, the problem I have with, and he actually does have, he did put the article here, Den of Geek expected to sell. Nintendo revealed that it expects to sell an additional 20 million Nintendo Switches during the fiscal year. Okay, let me jump back real quick to replay that little segment that he said.
It looks like Nintendo is becoming the fastest selling console of all time isn't where it ends. You see, Nintendo expects that they're going to sell about 20 million units in the United States in 2018.
That right there tells me that that Stone Fox is full of shit, because he said 20 million units in the United States in 2018. Yet, by the look of this, there's really no mention of the United States in this article. No mention. Expects to sell an additional 20 million Switches during the 2018 fiscal year. Kimishima stated that this ambitious projection is based on the fact that the Switch's sales figures thus far have exceeded all the company's expectations. And as I skim through this, there is no mention of 20 million units in the United States. Bullshit number one on your part, Stone Fox.
Okay. So basically, around these reports, it looks like Nintendo's Switch has sold somewhere around 10 million units. But they came out and said that they plan on selling 20 million additional Nintendo Switches in 2018. 20 million. That is.
Now it seems like he should have corrected himself here, but again, he said 20 million in the U.S., so it's hard to fully interpret. But like I said, if he's thinking the whole 20 million in the U.S., that's stupid of him. So, and then let's jump back real quick to what he said.
They came out and said that they plan on selling 20 million additional Nintendo Switches in 2018. 20 million. That is quite a bit of consoles you plan on selling, Nintendo.
That's a really high goal, yes. But you also got to admit, considering the fact that they sold as well as they did, and honestly, in the beginning of last year, when it came out in March, it struggled to really get rolling because there was little availability. When they finally started producing more and more of the Switches, their sales picked up fast. That was just the thing, is that they struggled because there was minimal availability of the Switches. And now that they've gotten, so it got to a slow start. Now that they're pretty much going full speed ahead in production and sales, 20 million doesn't seem like that bad of a goal. It's possibly realistic. Possibly. But again, anyone can have an opinion about that. So, let's keep going.
Looks like this actually is coming from a Nintendo meeting with Kimishima, and he basically said that that's the figures that they're going for. And I know that it seems kind of insane, but that's what they're planning. They're actually planning that. So far, Nintendo sold 10 million, but it does believe that they're trying to sell an additional 4 million units at the beginning of the 2018 fiscal year. So they plan on racking and stacking Nintendo Switches until the cows come home. And this is where it gets a little depressing.
I don't see how that's depressing, considering the fact that, again, they're very happy with the success of their Switch. They tested the waters. It did very well. And now they're trying to push. They want to see what they can do. Honestly, I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see how that's depressing. But here's what he claims makes it depressing.
Nintendo, they're not trying. And I know people are like, well, yeah, they are. They made a really weird, kind of funky console. You know, it's got adaptive capabilities. You can take it on the go. You can slam it in a docking station. You can take the controllers apart. I'm not saying it's not gimmicky. I'm not even really mad at them. I'm just in shock. Because Nintendo didn't really try with the technology. They did gimmicks. And it worked again like it did with the Wii and the nunchucks. And everyone remembers the nunchucks. They're just so much fun until you, like, accidentally break something because you're using those nunchucks as nunchucks. That's all about the Nintendo creativity. But that's not about what I'm talking about. They didn't try with the technology. The Nintendo Switch is a glorified tablet. I think we all know that.
A glorified tablet. So in this, I have point number 1 and point number 4. Alright, so point 1, point 4, and point 2 are all going to kind of tie into each other. So I'm going to wait till the other point comes in, and then I'll go over these at once.
This thing was soon as set on fire as soon as you try to run games like the Xbox One X can run. It can't do that. It'll melt. It's like, I cannot compute. Nintendo did not put every single egg in their basket with this thing. They did not give it all. They said, you know what? I'm going to give you a tablet, and I'm not going to give you the ability to have, I don't know, memory in it. You're going to put a micro SD card in it, like you would in a tablet. It didn't come with the basic 500 gigs that, you know, the PS4 and the Xbox came with. No. They didn't even try. It didn't even come with 100 gigs. It didn't even go back to the PlayStation 3 levels. They didn't give anything. Not 50, nothing. They gave like 2. This is like just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. They didn't want to put anything on Blu-ray discs. They didn't have CD drives. They have old school cartridges and micro SD cards, and people are just like gobbling the system up. They're just gobbling it up. I don't get it. I don't get it. Do I want them to fail? No. But does that mean that they should be the fastest selling of all time? Apparently they deserve it. Apparently we don't care if it has memory or RAM or anything that can play modern games at an effective level. No, we don't care about that. We care about gimmicks. And you know what the messed up part is? That if Sony or Microsoft tried to copy this, they would be beaten and ran out of the streets. They would say, Sony didn't give us 500 gigabytes. They didn't give us a terabyte. Microsoft didn't even put their foot forward. They didn't even try. They gave us like 1 gigabyte of RAM or something like that. It'll be some asinine thing that people are going to be mad about them if they attempted to do the same thing. Because if Sony or Microsoft decided not to try like Nintendo, they would get treated like dirt. And Nintendo is allowed to get away with it. And that's why I'm so upset.
So, allowed to get away with it, Sony and Microsoft aren't. That's another point that I actually have. So, actually, a lot of these points are tying in together. So, let's just play this whole thing where he talks about it.
Why is it okay for Nintendo to give you half amount of the cool stuff that you actually need and charge you $300 for it?
Alright, you know what? Let me go ahead and pause that. So, point 1, Nintendo is not trying with their technology. Point 2, Nintendo gave only half the amount of the cool stuff that is supposedly needed, yet they charged $300 for the Switch. Point number 4, Nintendo Switch is a glorified tablet. They didn't give their all. Okay. And number 5, you must have a micro SD card because the Switch has no memory, little to no memory. And the Switch only has 32 gigabytes. So, let me go over these first. Number 1, Nintendo not trying with technology. Nintendo got creative when they decided to make this console, the Switch, that you call a glorified tablet, that the fact they made it a hybrid. So let me jump to point number 4. Nintendo Switch is a glorified tablet, and they didn't give their all into the features. So, okay, let me play the part where he talks about some of these so-called features that are not in the Switch.
Now the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox, like, they cost $300. Some of them even less.
My third point just got mentioned there, but I want to save that for near the end.
Even less than $300, and they give you a terabyte. They give you Blu-ray players. They give you, I don't know, Ethernet ports where you have to buy some dongle to attach to actually have like a hardline Ethernet. Nintendo has forced you to buy accessories, even to charge you $70 for little tiny controller stick things. They're not even full controllers.
Alright, so let me pause that real quick. So, let me get back to what I was mentioning. Nintendo not trying with technology, point 1. The hybrid console piece was very creative and a good idea on their part. Number 2, Nintendo giving only half the amount of the cool stuff yet charged $300. No Ethernet port, no Blu-ray player, no DVD player. Why is that wrong? Most people that have the Switch most likely also has in that household a DVD or Blu-ray player, or a Sony console, PS4, PS3, or Xbox 360, Xbox One. So they're already going to have at least the DVD portion is already covered. Is covered. The Blu-ray covered with the PS4, Xbox One, or if you have a Blu-ray player, DVD player. Now the thing is, and that's the thing, there are Blu-ray and DVD players on the market. For those who don't have a 360, Xbox One, PS3, PS4, and they want to play DVDs, they're going to at least have the DVD player, if not have both already, before they have this. Not having the Ethernet port, yeah, that is kind of a small gripe, but for someone to call it a glorified tablet, do you see it? Do you know of any tablets, StoneFox, any so-called tablets, since you've called this that has an Ethernet port on it? No. So again, that's bullshit right there. Okay. And yes, like I said, there are DVD Blu-ray players in the market, and there are portable versions as well. Hybrid console capabilities. Because of the fact that the Switch, is a hybrid console, technically this has twice the value of a PS4, Xbox One consoles, because the PS4 and Xbox One are home console only. You cannot really take it on the go without spending an ungodly amount of money to be able to play it on the go, and even then that's a struggle. And actually, while I'm at it, why don't I search up, there was actually, what was it? Yes, here we go. The Games G190 Vanguard, just to name off one, or any sort of the Vanguard-based products, where the game's Vanguard personal gaming environment. That right there, the G190 is $350. Same in the Microsoft Store, $349 on the dot. So this is cheaper than a Vanguard monitor that you could use to hook up your PS4, to hook up your Xbox One, to make it portable. And this is a lot frickin' lighter. Okay, the other point, and as a result of this being a hybrid, the games get twice the value. And the reason I say this is because, again, you can play this on your TV, you can play it as a handheld, so the games have more value to them, technically. Yet they charge you for one game. So, in essence, for those of us that own the Switch, that use it for both home console and handheld capabilities, like I do, I have one game in the Switch right now. And as you can see, I've got 7 others. So, considering the hybrid capabilities of the Switch, I technically have 16 Switch games. As 8. Think about that for a minute. Because I'll think back, I can name one game that was on the 3DS and the Wii U, but in order to play them on either console, you needed to have both versions, the Wii U and the 3DS. One good example of a game that I loved playing was Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. It had a 3DS version, and it had a Wii U version. But the fun part of that as well is that you could take your save data from either one and go back and forth between the two, which was amazing when you played at home on the Wii U, and then before you head out for whether it's to hang out with friends or go to a convention or whatever, or a gathering of sorts, you could just take that data in your Wii U, transfer it to your 3DS, and pick up where you left off. You don't have to do that with this. So that's some time saved right there. Okay. Must have a micro SD card because the Switch only has X amount, 32 gigabytes. And let me see if I can play back that part where he actually mentioned it. So I'm gonna have there's gonna be some bouncing in here.
I'm gonna give you a tablet, and Nintendo did not put every single egg in their basket with this thing. They did not give it all. They said, you know what? I'm gonna give you a tablet, and I'm not gonna give you the ability to have, memory in it. You gotta put a micro SD card in it, like you would in a tablet. It didn't come with the basic 500 gigs that, the PS4 and the Xbox came with. No. They didn't even try. It didn't even come with 100 gigs. It didn't even go back to the PlayStation 3 levels. They didn't give anything. Not 50, nothing. They gave like 2.
The Switch has 32 gigabytes of memory in it, but you only get to use like 28 to 29 gigabytes of it. To about 10% of the memory is for the system hardware itself to use. So you must have. So the point you have to put a micro SD card in it because of that date of that limited amount of memory. The only way that is plausible that point can be valid is if a Switch owner just goes digital download with games such as Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, the big games, the big games. That's the only way that point that you made, Stone Fox, can be plausible. For those who go with the physical copies that I just showed you, physical copies. And then you talked about Sony and Microsoft consoles are cheaper than the Switch and they have more memory, from 500 gigs to a terabyte. Here's the problem with Sony and Microsoft, Stone Fox, that you conveniently left out. This generation, there is no difference with Microsoft and Sony in regards to physical and digital copies of games. There is no difference. You could have a physical copy of Destiny 2, of Black Ops 3, or the newest Call of Duty, World War II, or Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA. And even if you have the physical copy, it's going to take the same amount of memory from your PS4 as having a digital download. There is no difference anymore for them. The only difference is that the physical copy you can return to get some money back. Digital, you cannot. While Nintendo has stuck with their usual mantra, their usual mindset, where the game is in the cartridge or disc if you think of the Wii U. They kept the games in their product. While Sony and Microsoft, when you put the disc in the drive, it installed the full game on the PS4 or on the Xbox One. So in order to play them, you just need to have the disc in it, which made it more compelling for the consumer base to want to buy it digital, because there was no difference. And that's the depressing thing, Stone Fox, about Sony and Microsoft. This is coming from a guy who owns a PS2, a PS3, a PS4, a PlayStation Portable, and a Japanese imported. Let me grab the little sucker while I'm talking about it. A Japanese imported PlayStation Vita. So you could say, in some sense, I'm a Sony fanboy. Some people will probably call me that. No, I'm not a fucking Sony fanboy, nor am I a Nintendo fanboy. I just collect. I collect any and all new tech. When the PSP, which came out in 2004 in Japan, and then we eventually got it in the United States, overseas. I ended up getting this in 2005 for Christmas, so it had been about close to a year after the PSP had been out. And this was made. The PSP, and to me, it was a great concept. It was a great thought that Sony tried to do. So, anyway, let me keep going here. With the microSD card bullshit that you bring up, with physical games, physical cartridges, 32 gigabytes can last you a very long time. Especially with updates. Because the updates are just going to be part of the game. And that's what people don't get, which I find very laughable. I'll go ahead. Let me pull, why don't I pull up managing software. Okay. Just the game itself, we'll say, just for instance, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild takes up a total of 2.1 gigs. With 1.2 of that being most likely the DLCs and updates. That's actually not bad. And the game itself being 886 megabytes. Not bad, don't you think? Stern Pinball Arcade. 1.3 gigabytes, and that's a digital download. I got that because I like pinball and it was free. Fire Emblem Warriors, 159 megabytes only. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. 75.7. Replay that in your head. 75.7 megabytes. To me, that's impressive. Real impressive. And there's probably probably takes up a little bit more, but right now I'm playing it. I haven't done the saving and whatnot, so I'm not going to eject it just to look for it. Now, continuing. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 64 megabytes. That should tell you guys something. Physical copies taking up this little memory. And this is 1, 2, 3. This is 4. This is 4 of the game. This is half of the games because I have not put the rest in. But think about that. So if we use the logic, so if we were to tally this all up, let's see, 3.4, 3.6, about 3 points. I've used about 3.7 gigabytes. So in essence, you have 28.3 to 28.4 gigabytes of system memory to use on this. And with just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, one of them being digital, like I said, I've used up under 4 gigs. Now it'll probably breach 4 gigs once I put my remaining games into the Switch. Just saying. So your microSD must-have point is null and void. Only plausible if you go all out on digital downloads. And I don't think many people who own the Switch are going to do that. So, yeah. And we already brought up the whole Sony with the consoles cheaper. I just did that. Like I said, Nintendo kept their games in their cartridges while Sony and Microsoft put it into the system, giving the edge to Nintendo. So, moving on.
They're not even full controllers.
Alright, so he mentioned how the Joy-Con controllers are $70. No, they're technically, if memory serves me correctly, they're $80 for 2 pair. And they can work, the Joy-Cons work as a full controller together or separate controllers. So the Switch technically will give you 2 controllers. Technically. Now, if you preferred having the feel of a controller, you can use the with the one-player games, put these in a Joy-Con grip, or you could get a wireless Pro Switch Pro controller, which is $70. I have a Switch Pro controller, and that thing can go for over a day before it needs a charge. That, to me, speaks volumes. That was a point that wasn't even mentioned, but you guys get the point because what he says, just to me, it's bullshit. So let's keep going.
Those things cost like $70. And everyone's like, yay! I don't understand this. This is going to set a bad precedent. I'm pretty sure Sony and Microsoft aren't really going to try. And why should they? The Microsoft...
Okay. So let's go over the whole thing. Nintendo gave only half the amount of the cool stuff, yet they charged $300. Like I said, the value of the console is technically double because of it being able to go home console and handheld. Same for the games. And then 2 Joy-Cons for $80. Well, you could buy 2 PS4 controllers in combined at the cheapest $120 before tax. You say they're not full controllers. They have an LR button when you use them in their single Joy-Con mode. They have an analog stick. And they have their 4 buttons. Same as that of a 3DS. It's the same thing. And why is it wrong that Nintendo doesn't put the DVD Blu-ray feature into their Switch? To me, it sounds like they are focusing just on games, on gaming only. I don't see that as wrong. I don't see that is bad. No Ethernet port. Okay, that's probably the only possibly plausible gripe. Only. But even then, it barely holds up. Alright, so let's go towards the end here.
Come out with it, did they? Did they really? They didn't come out with much last year. They know, and then all of a sudden they start getting less sales because people are over at Xbox One X to pay $5 actual engine in it. It has nothing to use it, so you just buy it for a big pretty box. Now, I wouldn't do that. This is what gaming is turning into. But at the end of the day, this is what gaming is turning into. It's turning into the point where you don't have to try. All you have to do is come up with something gimmicky enough. If you come out with a controller with enough buttons and enough function, people will think it's the coolest thing that ever happened. But only Nintendo has been able to get away with it. They did it with the Wii. It was weak. They had a nunchuck. They did it with this thing. The only one they didn't necessarily get away with was like the GameCube. That was probably the time where they failed, probably one of the worst. And I'm not gonna say the Wii U didn't fail. I mean, the Wii U was a dismal failure, but they kept not trying until eventually it worked. And that's the part. It's like you're doing something wrong deliberately with the vague attempt at it actually working. You're so shocked that it worked, you're like, no, the Wii U isn't quite gimmicky enough. If we allow you to take it apart and give it even less features than the Wii U, we just take away stuff from it. We won't even have a UI. You don't even need a UI with the Nintendo Switch. Just show a screen and give them time to press start. That's it. It is just dismal.
Again, if their focus is solely on games, they have no interest in DVD, Blu-ray. They don't have the internet exploring function, which honestly, if you already have like I said, if you got a PS4 or even a computer, you could do that on them. They just stuck to one thing, games. Now, that to me is in my opinion, all that's needed. That's all that is required, really. And to me, that was probably a smart move. Because they used the logic that most people, if not all, are already going to have some form of Blu-ray DVD player already, be it another console. They don't just try to kill their competition. They actually work around what their competition does, and they do something completely different. I'm sorry if I'm messing with my eye. It's starting to bug me up. Point is, when it comes down to it, Nintendo's allowed to get away with not trying or being gimmicky or as being gimmicky. Honestly, StoneFox, Nintendo has been the only company that's trying new things. I'll give you a perfect example with their consoles. I'll give you an example. Nintendo 64 with the analog stick and the yellow C buttons. And for those of you who probably wonder what I'm talking about, the little C buttons are those little yellow buttons. Like if you played Ocarina of Time, just as an example, in Ocarina of Time, those 4 buttons were used to play the ocarina for melodies, along with the A button. The up being the top, the highest. The left being the second, the right being third, down fourth, A bottom. High pitch to low pitch for the ocarina. They also had the analog stick, which Sony, you guys will probably say, well, Sony had the analog sticks too. Sony didn't come out with it with their analog PlayStation 1 controllers until April of 1997. So it took almost a year for Sony to get that out. Sega didn't have the analog stick till 1998 in November, which was the Dreamcast, which was Sega's last home console. And Xbox wasn't even out yet. Now, when it comes to other creative / trying new things, Sony brought out the PSP in 2004 of December in Japan, later coming out to the US, overseas in 2005, made to compete with the Nintendo DS. So Sony tried something to compete with the handheld phenomenon that was the Nintendo DS. They tried. It was okay. It did decently. Then we have the PlayStation Vita that debuted in Japan. So just so you guys know, I'm going by Japan dates. December of 2011. Also to compete with the handheld, from the DS to potentially the 3DS. However, the Vita didn't do well overseas like it did in Japan. Now, personally, I enjoy the Vita. I enjoy the PlayStation Portable. I love this especially. This is the first thing I actually did as an imported out of Japan, Gundam Breaker, and I actually have the game in my gaming little kind of a mini gaming library in my game room. I like it. I liked both of them. And what I really loved about this was that you could take digital games like there were PlayStation Portable, other PlayStation Vita, any of the that was in the PlayStation Store, and you could play them on here. Made it. It was amazing. An amazing concept, an amazing idea that it just didn't do well because not many people were interested in it. The Wii introduced the nunchuck, and it was a fun concept, and it was useful at some points. It worked with it was the motion. Microsoft hardly did anything with their innovative or creative with their console. Probably the two things: the Microsoft Xbox Elite wireless controller, which is $150, which he talked about that already, where you can actually adjust the triggers to be. And actually, I'd read about it earlier, so let me pull it back up real quick. Microsoft. Here we go. The Elite controller that's supposed to be for pro gamers, which to me I think that's bullshit. I think that's stupid to call it that. But that's just me. So, let me discuss it real quick. The Elite controller came out on October 27th of 2015. Okay, not bad at all. But again, $150, pretty much about 2.5 times the price of a basic Xbox One controller. It also works on the PC, but okay. Pretty much, you are able to. It features interchangeable rear paddles and hair trigger locks, it lets you adjust the trigger minimum maximum values, thumbstick sensitivity, and button assignments. So pretty much you can customize the controller to suit your style of play, to suit you. And the D-pad actually feels more like an analog stick at times because of how it's set up. So, and then you have the Kinect, which debuted for the 360 in November of 2010 and November 2013 for the Xbox One. And then it was made to compete with the Wii Remote Plus of the Nintendo Wii and the PlayStation Move on the Sony PlayStation. PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. You get the point. But that was abandoned, given up on by Microsoft in 2014 because nobody wanted to work with the Kinect. So, overall, with saying that only Nintendo's allowed to get away with not trying or being gimmicky, no. They just got creative. They tried something new. If it worked, it was then great. The Wii U, the only gimmick that it had was the gamepad. So if you didn't want to play on a TV, you could play it on a gamepad. So it wasn't handheld. You still had to plug it into the wall. Unless but you guys get the point, I'm sure. It still had to be plugged into a wall, and as a result, in order to take this you can take anywhere. Plain and simple. So as a result, those were the main points that StoneFox brought up that I felt needed to be addressed and countered, because a lot of the stuff he said and the way he sounds, and you guys can judge this video for yourself if you want to. Don't witch on him. I mean, he's already kind of getting some hate about that video. But in all honesty, StoneFox, in my opinion, as somebody who's followed the gaming industry for a long time, as someone who does their research, talks about a lot of the things, looks into, does research on the Wii U, on the Switch, on the PlayStation 4, on the Xbox One, the latest generation. You're full of shit, in my opinion. Or that if you're not full of shit, you're not completely informed because you don't look into everything. You bitch about the memory, which, like I said, only plausible if you go all digital download. You throw hands over not having Blu-ray DVD player or Ethernet. Big whoop about the Blu-ray DVD. You should already have one. It's like, well, I got the Switch. I want to just focus on this and not play my PS4 or Xbox One. No. That just makes you creepy. Now, like I said, for people that'll be like, well, you sound like a Nintendo fanboy or a Sony fanboy. No, I don't. I'm not. Like I said, I own mostly. It's kind of a mix of Nintendo and Sony product. The handhelds and the consoles. I still have my Wii U, my GameCube, the Switch. I have an old Nintendo DS that's unfortunately started to go bad. I have 4 3DS XLs, 3 of them being special editions, 1 regular, and 2 of the specials are new XLs. One is a Zelda, the other one's a Monster Hunter. Then the other XL is the original 3DS XL, Pokemon X and Y, and then I have a regular edition, if you will, regular styled new 3DS XL. Now, if you consider that being a fanboy, that's your prerogative. But no, I just consider, Zelda is one of my favorite franchises, along with Monster Hunter. Then you got, like I said, the Pokemon one. I got that mainly because I felt like it was time for me to get a new 3DS. The one I had was starting to go bad. And the other one I had, which was a Fire Emblem, which I no longer have now, was running out of memory. So I decided, you know what? Why don't I go ahead and get another one? And back then, you could say the memory could be an issue. And sorry for shaky footage, guys. But at the same time, it's not. The memory, while it can be disputed to be minimal, can last you a while. Now, granted, talking about the SD cards, I did buy a 128 when there was a sale for them. Like normally, I remember Rich from Review Tech USA bitched about how it was $200. I ended up getting it for 60. The same Nintendo Switch SD card for $60. Black Friday. Chaotic, but organized chaos. So, in closing, this is all I've got to say about the whole thing with Stone Fox. Like I said, just calling out the points that he had brought up and countering, counterpoints. And for those of you who wonder what I think when it comes to this generation, when it comes to the Switch being the fastest selling console, I think it's a good thing. Not Sony. Well, yeah, Sony has been the top dog for a long time. And now Nintendo has, if they haven't taken the top spot, they're definitely fighting for it. It's put them back. It's like they were running with a horse. The horse went lame. They got a new horse. They tried it out, and the horse is phenomenal, and it's running a great race with Sony's horse. If you think about it like that. So, I'm happy for Nintendo that the Switch is selling very well. I mean, it was brought up that within a certain amount of time, the Wii U sales in its lifetime period, or in Japan, was going to be outdone by the Switch sales, period. And the Switch is a phenomenal console, handheld, home, however you want to, it's a great hybrid console. I love being able to take my game and play on the TV and then take it on the go when I leave. It's that good. And honestly, when I consider the fact that I barely have time to play games anymore because of my job, then, it still works. So, anyway, that's all I've got for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I do apologize for what seems like a long-winded discussion and just a simple in one spot. But this was stuff I felt needed to be addressed. And like I said, Stone Fox, you need to get your facts straight, man. Otherwise, you're really not many people are going to take you serious. Or some people are just going to hate what you have to say. A lot of people said you sounded like you were just salty over Nintendo. And it could be true. You sounded salty with the way you talked, or anti-Nintendo, but I'm not going to say you are, because I don't know you. But at the same time, you got to think from the other side. You got to think about things and get all your facts and research. Nintendo came a long way from their flop with the Wii U. Not only did they do so well with the Switch sales, two of their games, one game wins Game of the Year, which is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. While to me, the Zelda game is not the best Zelda game ever for me, and I've played a bunch of Zelda games. It's definitely in my top 3, if not top 4. Or you know what I mean, top 4 if not top 3. But to me, number 1 will always be Link to the Past. That's what got me started on Zelda. So anyway, that's all I've got for you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button down below. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so that way you guys stay up to date on when content comes out. Again, hope you guys have a good night. I'm going to go to bed. It's been a long night, and I got to get up early. So, peace out.